January 12, 2014. Beverly Hills, 11:47 p.m. The afterparty is louder than the ceremony. Crystal glasses clink. Studio executives lean close to be heard over the baseline. Gold statuettes reflect flashes of camera phones like tiny explosions of light. Leonardo DiCaprio stands near the edge of the room, tuxedo immaculate, smile perfectly calibrated. He has just won a Golden Globe for The Wolf of Wall Street. Around him, people are already talking about what's next. Another nomination push. Another prestige film. Another year at the center of the awards machine. A producer grips his shoulder and laughs, "You're everywhere right now, man, everywhere." And that's the problem. You can almost feel it in the way his smile fades half a second too early, in the way his eyes scan the room instead of resting in it. This is the peak, the saturation point, the moment most actors spend decades chasing. And he knows it. Over the previous 3 years, DiCaprio has been relentless. Inception, Django Unchained, The Great Gatsby, The Wolf of Wall Street. Blockbuster auteur collaboration, cultural dominance. He isn't just visible, he's omnipresent. Magazine covers, think pieces, Oscar speculation panels dissecting his career arc like a stock market chart, the internet turning his near misses at the Academy Awards into a global meme. The narrative has shifted, it's no longer just about the work. It's about the chase. And Hollywood has a way of turning even brilliance into background noise when it appears too often. That night, sometime after midnight, he slips out without making an announcement. No grand exit, no press goodbye, just a quiet departure into the California dark. Within weeks, something unusual happens. He stops. No new film announcements. No franchise rumors. No prestige project leaks. No red carpet cycles. For nearly 2 years, Leonardo DiCaprio becomes, by A-list standards, almost invisible. To the public, it feels like a break. To the industry, it feels like a calculation. Because in Hollywood, absence isn't neutral, it's either weakness or leverage. And very few people can tell which one this is. Hollywood doesn't collapse stars overnight. It erodes them slowly. By early 2014, Leonardo DiCaprio wasn't just a leading man, he was a constant presence in the cultural bloodstream. Interviews looped across late-night television. His face anchored film festival posters. Award campaigns recycled the same narrative, "This is the year." But something subtle was happening beneath the surface. When an actor appears too frequently, audiences begin to anticipate them instead of discovering them. The mystery fades, the unpredictability thins out, and in an industry fueled by anticipation, predictability is dangerous. Studios love availability. Agents love momentum. Publicists love relevance. But prestige loves restraint. Behind closed doors, executives track perception the way analysts track currency. Market value, cultural fatigue, social media heat maps. There's a word that quietly circulates in development meetings when a star dominates too many cycles. Overexposed. Not as an insult, as a risk assessment. DiCaprio had just delivered one of the most electric performances of his career as Jordan Belfort, chaotic, loud, impossible to ignore. But when you play a character that explosive and then immediately step back into award season interviews, magazine covers, meme culture, the performance doesn't get space to age. It competes with your visibility. And visibility over time dilutes impact. You could see it in the questions he was being asked. Less about craft, more about the Oscar narrative, less about character psychology, more about internet jokes. When the industry begins framing you as a storyline instead of an artist, control starts slipping. So he did something counterintuitive. He refused the cycle. No franchise attachment to secure guaranteed global box office. No prestige drama rushed into production to stay in conversation. No mid-budget filler film to keep momentum warm. He stepped out of rotation. It's easy to mistake absence for retreat, but in Hollywood economics, scarcity increases demand. Luxury brands understand this, so do A-list actors who want longevity instead of noise. During that period, DiCaprio focused quietly on environmental activism, private development conversations, and selective script evaluation. No press parade, no campaign strategy. The silence created space, and space creates tension. Studios began adjusting timelines around the possibility of his return. Directors waited. Scripts were rewritten with him in mind but not promised. When your availability is uncertain, your leverage expands. But here's the psychological pressure most people don't see. Walking away at your peak feels like self-sabotage. There's fear in it. Fear that audiences will forget. Fear that the industry will move on. Fear that a new face will absorb your slot in the ecosystem. Hollywood doesn't pause, it replaces. And yet, DiCaprio understood something critical. Omnipresence turns icons into fixtures. Fixtures fade into walls. Mystery preserves stature. By late 2015, the noise around him had thinned. The memes cooled, the saturation softened, and then, almost quietly, a trailer surfaced. Snow silence brutality. The Revenant. The timing wasn't accidental. He didn't return with charm. He returned with endurance. And the industry felt the shift immediately. But what most people didn't realize was how carefully that re-entry had been engineered, not just creatively but politically. Because award seasons aren't won by performance alone. They're won by narrative control. And for the first time in years, he had it back. December 16, 2015. Los Angeles, the Academy screening of The Revenant. The room is colder than most premieres, not in temperature, in tone. No champagne-heavy spectacle, no over-the-top celebration. The film itself feels punishing. Snowstorms, silence, survival, a man crawling through wilderness and grief. Leonardo DiCaprio sits several rows back. No loud entrance, no theatrical press moment, just presence. But this time it's different. For nearly 2 years, his absence has done something subtle but powerful. It has reset the emotional baseline. Audiences aren't tired of him, they're curious again. You can feel it in the room. That stillness before the screening starts isn't casual, it's charged. Because scarcity changes perception. When an actor disappears, memory starts polishing their image. The flaws blur, the noise fades. What remains is the essence of why people cared in the first place. And when The Revenant unfolds, brutal, restrained, almost dialogue-free, DiCaprio doesn't feel omnipresent. He feels transformed. This wasn't a return to dominate screens with charisma. It was a recalibration. The performance is physical, punishing, nearly mythic. And because he hasn't saturated the market for 2 straight years, audiences receive it as an event, not another installment in a constant stream. That's the psychological reset he engineered. Award season politics are delicate, voters are human, they respond to storylines. Fatigue matters, overexposure matters, sympathy, timing, narrative arc, they all play a role. By stepping back, he removed the overdue meme energy that once overshadowed his work. The conversation shifted from "will this finally be the year" to something quieter. This is undeniable. Silence sharpened the focus. Studios noticed something else too. His negotiation position had strengthened. When an actor proves they can walk away, especially at a commercial peak, they signal independence. Independence shifts power dynamics. He wasn't chasing projects were aligning around him. In February 2016, when his name is finally called at the Academy Awards, the applause feels different, not explosive, not ironic, not overdue. It feels resolved. But the Oscar win isn't the real story. The real story is what Hollywood learned in the process. He didn't need constant visibility to stay relevant. He needed distance to regain gravity. In an industry that feeds on noise, he used quiet as strategy. And he wasn't the only one watching. Other major figures had faced similar saturation points. Some kept pushing, some burned out, some faded, a rare few chose restraint. Because sometimes the most powerful move in Hollywood is refusing to move at all. And that raises a larger question. What does stepping back actually do to the system around you? Hollywood runs on access. Access to stars. Access to premieres. Access to interviews, soundbites, campaign appearances, viral moments. The machine is designed to keep faces circulating. When a major actor says yes to everything, the ecosystem expands around them. Studios build release calendars, brands draft endorsement pitches, award strategists design multi-month visibility plans. But what happens when someone quietly says no? After The Revenant, DiCaprio didn't accelerate. He didn't capitalize on the Oscar momentum with back-to-back releases. He didn't announce a franchise pivot. He didn't flood the market with prestige dramas to cement dominance. He slowed down again. This is the part most viewers never analyze. Winning the Oscar is usually the ignition point, a signal to maximize earning potential and visibility. Instead, he reinforced the pattern: selectivity, distance, control. And that refusal reshaped negotiations. In Hollywood, availability determines leverage. If an actor is always ready to work, studios dictate timelines. If an actor is selective, even unpredictable, studios adjust to them. When DiCaprio attached himself to Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it wasn't just casting news. It was alignment between two figures who both understand cinematic mythmaking. The collaboration felt rare because it was rare. He had become an event actor. Event actors don't chase cycles. They create them. Psychologically, this requires resisting ego. The industry rewards omnipresence with applause, headlines, validation. Stepping back means surrendering daily affirmation. It means trusting long-term memory over short-term noise. That's not passive, that's disciplined. And Hollywood recalibrates around discipline. Agents begin pitching differently. Instead of asking, "What can we fit into his schedule?" the question becomes, "What is worthy of his schedule?" That shift seems subtle. It is. Reputation in Hollywood operates like gravity. Too much exposure reduces density. Selectivity increases it. Over time, gravity bends the industry around you. You can see the ripple effect. Other A-list actors began spacing projects further apart. Prestige performers became more guarded with interviews. Streaming-era oversaturation made scarcity even more valuable. Because the market had changed, content exploded. Attention spans fragmented. Celebrity visibility became constant. In that chaos, silence became luxury. And luxury commands respect. But there's another layer beneath strategy, something quieter and more human. Burnout. Creative exhaustion doesn't announce itself with headlines. It creeps in through repetition, through endless press cycles, through being reduced to a brand instead of a person. Slowing down isn't always about optics, sometimes it's survival. When major Hollywood figures intentionally pause, they aren't surrendering power, they're preserving identity. Because the longer you remain constantly visible, the harder it becomes to separate performance from self. And when that line blurs, legacy erodes. The system rewards availability, but it reveres restraint. And by refusing to be always available, DiCaprio did something few actors manage. He made Hollywood wait. The question is, what happens when the system has to wait for you? There's a shift you can't see on camera. It doesn't happen on red carpets. It doesn't trend on social media. It happens in conference rooms. A development executive flips through a script and pauses. "Hold this," they say. "If Leo responds, this changes." That sentence is power. Not box office power. Not award momentum. Structural power. When an industry begins organizing around your possible availability instead of your guaranteed presence, the hierarchy tilts. After his recalibrated return, DiCaprio entered a phase of extreme selectivity. Projects stretched years apart, collaborations were deliberate, public appearances became sparse and purposeful. The spacing did something psychological to audiences. Anticipation rebuilt. When he appeared in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the performance wasn't consumed casually. It was studied. His vulnerability as Rick Dalton, an aging actor confronting irrelevance, felt almost meta. It resonated differently because DiCaprio himself had resisted irrelevance through absence. The audience leaned in. Scarcity had restored focus. And inside the industry, a message circulated quietly. He was no longer competing within the system's rhythm. He was operating above it. Award campaigns became less desperate, interviews became less explanatory. There was no need to oversell his presence. The mystique did the work. But here's the deeper psychological layer, the one rarely discussed. Stepping back reclaims authorship. When you're constantly visible, the narrative about you is written in real time by critics, bloggers, meme culture, award analysts. Your identity becomes reactive. Silence interrupts that. Silence slows the narrative cycle long enough for you to rewrite it. Instead of being the actor chasing an Oscar, he became the actor who chooses when to appear. That distinction changes how every future performance is interpreted. Control doesn't always look like dominance. Sometimes it looks like distance. Hollywood is addicted to velocity, constant production, constant premieres, constant headlines. To step out of that velocity is to risk being forgotten. But if your foundation is strong enough, something else happens. Memory matures. Audiences begin associating you not with frequency, but with impact. That's legacy territory. And legacy isn't built on volume, it's built on weight. There's a reason the rarest luxury items are the most desired. Limited supply signals value. DiCaprio applied that logic not to merchandise but to himself. It wasn't withdrawal. It was repositioning. And as streaming platforms flooded the market with content, as celebrity culture became 24/7 exposure, his restraint became even more pronounced. He didn't compete with the noise. He let the noise exhaust itself. By the time he returns to screen now, it feels intentional, considered, almost curated. Hollywood didn't push him out of the cycle. He stepped out of it. And in doing so, he revealed something uncomfortable about the system. The industry rewards those who are always available. But it reveres those who can afford not to be. That distinction redefines power. Because power isn't being everywhere. It's being able to disappear and knowing the world will still look for you.